The Florida sun looked as if it had been painted by hand across the Key West sky, reflecting on the sea like a liquid mantle of gold. It was the perfect setting for the Dawson family to celebrate Michael and Laura's 20th wedding anniversary. The rented boat, Sea Breeze, swayed gently on the small ripples of the water. Sarah, the 17-year-old eldest daughter, was taking pictures to post on social media, while her 10-year-old brother, Ben, kept insisting on catching something big, even though he had no idea what to do if he actually did. "Let's just go as far as the reef and head back before sunset," Michael said, adjusting his sunglasses. "Don't forget today is about relaxing, no crazy adventures," Laura added with a laugh. The warm breeze carried the salty scent of the ocean mixed with a faint aroma of engine fuel. On the horizon, small white dots of other boats could be seen, but the area they were in already felt isolated. Ben, leaning against the side, stared intently at the crystal-clear water. "Dad, I think I saw something down there. It was big. Really big." Michael looked but saw only reflections and shadows. He smiled, thinking it was just his son's imagination. But a few minutes later, a dull sound echoed beneath the hull, a heavy thump as if something had bumped into the boat. "Must have been a log," Sarah said, trying to hide her nervousness. But Ben never took his eyes off the water. It wasn't a log. It had eyes, and it moved. Far from the shore, under the perfect blue sky, no one could imagine that this sunny day was about to turn into a nightmare. Silence returned for a few minutes, broken only by the soft hum of the engine. Laura was handing out sandwiches and trying to calm the mood, but Sarah noticed her father was quietly watching the sea as if searching for something. Suddenly, the water behind the boat exploded into a white spray. A tall, dark triangular fin sliced through the surface and disappeared as quickly as it had appeared. "Oh my God," Laura whispered, dropping her plate onto the deck floor. "Was that a shark?" Sarah stepped back toward the center of the boat. Michael didn't answer. He was already pulling Ben away from the edge. The sea breeze jolted so hard that Sarah nearly fell. A sharp impact hit the port side, making the hull creak. The fin reappeared, this time very close, along with the sight of a gray and white striped body. A tiger shark, huge, easily over 13 feet long. Michael sped up, trying to get away, but the animal seemed to be tracking the sound. Another impact struck the stern. A metallic snap echoed, followed by the engine sputtering and dying. No, 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 no. Michael turned the key, but the engine coughed and stalled. The boat was now motionless, floating, alone. The shark began to circle slowly as if measuring the time. Its fin cut through the water in a hypnotic pattern, disappearing and reappearing with each lap. Laura trembled, clutching Ben. Sarah held her phone, but the screen only showed no signal. With every second it became clear, this animal wasn't just passing by. It was hunting. The sun continued to beat down mercilessly, and the sea breeze had now become a small vulnerable island amid an endless blue. The calm of the early morning had given way to an oppressive silence, broken only by the soft sound of the sea and the occasional thump of the hull rocking with the waves. Michael gripped the useless steering wheel tightly, staring at the dead engine. Trying to restart it was pointless. The shark's impact had damaged the mechanical system. The radio, which they had used just minutes before to contact the marina, was also dead. No power, no signal, no help. "I'm going to try to make some repairs," Michael said, trying to keep his voice steady so as not to scare Laura and the kids. He crouched down into the small engine compartment with the basic tools they had brought on board, but quickly realized nothing there would be enough to fix the damage. Sarah scanned the sea, always alert, trying to spot any sign of rescue. Another boat, a plane, anything that could mean help was coming. But the horizon was empty, with no sign of human life. "What are we going to do, Dad?" Ben asked wide-eyed. "Stay calm, son. We'll stick together and think this through," Michael replied, trying to steady the voice that trembled inside him. But the family didn't have much time for comfort. The tiger shark was still there, a living steel circle lurking. The animal didn't attack constantly, but its presence was a constant threat, a dark shadow moving beneath the boat, waiting for the right moment to strike. Laura tried to distract the children, sitting with them and telling stories about fishermen and sailors, but it was hard to stay calm when the danger felt so close, almost tangible. "Do you think it will go away?" Sarah whispered, looking up at the sky for an answer. "Sharks don't give up easily. They're patient," Michael answered. The heat grew worse. The water in the bottle ran out quickly and the food was scarce. The sea breeze, which at first seemed friendly, now brought a feeling of isolation. Every minute that passed made the ocean bigger and the boat smaller. Hours passed. The sun began to descend, painting the sky in shades of orange, pink, and purple. The feeling of hope faded, replaced by growing fear. The shark, always there, seemed to patrol the perimeter like a dark guardian of that piece of ocean. Sarah, who had been trying to be the bravest, finally felt the weight of the situation fall on her shoulders. She grabbed her phone to try calling emergency services, but the screen only showed no service. A pang of despair grew inside her. Then, suddenly, a distant sound made them all look toward the horizon, a steady metallic noise like another boat's engine. A flicker of hope lit up everyone's eyes. "Maybe it's the Coast Guard," Ben exclaimed, pointing far away. But the sound seemed to come from a different direction, and as time went by, it grew quieter, farther away, until it disappeared completely. The shark, as if sensing the change in the air, came closer to the boat again. This time it was more aggressive. The water around the boat began to bubble, and the fins sliced through the sea with force, revealing sharp teeth in a menacing reflection. Michael grabbed an oar and prepared to defend his family, even though he knew it would be useless against a predator that size. Laura held the kids tightly, trying to be a fortress against the fear. But night fell, bringing with it the cold and darkness of the open ocean. The boat, still and motionless, was a small yellow light in the vast blackness, surrounded by the constant roar of the waves. The shark continued to circle, a silent and constant threat. When the moon finally rose in the sky, its silver light reflected on the water's surface, revealing not only the shadow of the shark but also something larger, much larger, in the depths. Something that even made the shark recoil for a moment. Michael realized this night would be decisive. They needed to prepare for whatever came next, to fight, to survive, or to accept that they were trapped on that patch of sea with no hope. The night on the open sea seemed endless. Every dark minute increased the fear of the Dawson family, huddled on the deck of the Sea Breeze, motionless and vulnerable. The chill of the sea wind made Laura hold her children close, seeking human warmth where there was no heater or equipment to provide it. The tiger shark was still circling, its presence more threatening than ever, illuminated by the pale moonlight. But the family felt deep down there was something else, a larger, quieter shadow in the depths that seemed to rule this territory with absolute dominance. Michael tried to stay calm, but his tired eyes betrayed the exhaustion of hours on high alert. The boat's engine remained dead, the radio silent, and supplies were nearly gone. They were at the mercy of the sea and the predators surrounding them. Then, suddenly, the shark changed its behavior. It broke from its usual circling and lunged in a decisive attack. Water exploded near the boat's edge and sharp teeth glinted menacingly. "Hold on," Michael shouted, gripping the makeshift oar tightly. But just as the shark charged to bite, a loud, piercing sound cut through the tension. The engine of a nearby boat burst through the night silence. Bright lights cut across the horizon, and the sound of spinning propellers grew rapidly closer. It was the Coast Guard. The shark abruptly retreated, vanishing in a blur beneath the surface. The Coast Guard vessel, its spotlights blazing, approached the Sea Breeze. 2 officers jumped aboard, carrying first aid kits and tools to try to repair the engine. Relief and tears of hope mixed on the deck. Laura hugged her children tightly while Michael thanked them, barely able to believe they were saved. But when they looked back at the sea, they noticed something strange. The shark's fin hadn't disappeared completely. It lingered at a distance as if waiting. And behind it, a massive shadow emerged, a colossal creature bigger than any shark ever seen. The officers exchanged nervous glances. One grabbed the radio and tried to call for backup, but the device crackled with no response. The giant shadow swam slowly, wrapped in mystery and danger, almost like the true master of these waters. The tiger shark seemed submissive before it, retreating into the depths. Michael shivered. They had escaped the first predator, but now an even greater threat was watching them. "What is that?" Sarah asked, eyes wide with a mix of fear and fascination. "I don't know," one of the officers replied in a low, grave voice, "but I think this night isn't over yet." As the Coast Guard boat began towing the Sea Breeze toward shore, the Dawson family stayed silent, watching the dark waters swallowing that mysterious shadow. At that moment, they understood the ocean holds secrets man was not meant to awaken, and that sometimes, survival is only the beginning of a much darker nightmare. The days after the rescue were a whirlwind for the Dawson family. Between interviews, medical exams, and attempts to return to a normal life, Michael couldn't shake the image of that colossal shadow in the waters off Key West. Determined to close that chapter, he decided to return to the sea, this time accompanied by a team of marine scientists equipped with advanced technology. Laura, Sarah, and Ben stayed on shore, waiting anxiously for news. On the day of the expedition, the sky was overcast and the sea slightly rough. As the boat moved away from the coast, a silent tension hung in the air. Michael increasingly felt this was more than a scientific search. It was a confrontation with something beyond human understanding. Hours later, when the equipment began picking up strange signals from the depths, the team went on high alert. The colossal shadow appeared again, moving with surprising agility for its size. The creature partially emerged, a massive scaly silhouette with glowing eyes and a body seemingly built to dominate the ocean. It didn't attack, but its presence commanded respect and fear. Michael realized it wasn't a monster but an ancient guardian, a creature that had maintained the balance of that ecosystem for centuries. The tiger shark's aggression was perhaps just a reaction to intrusions in its territory. The team chose to document everything, respecting the creature and its space. Michael, looking at that imposing being, understood that some mysteries are meant to be preserved, not destroyed. Back on shore, he vowed to protect that story and that secret so the sea could remain a place of life, mystery, and respect. The Dawson family returned home, forever marked by the experience but also with a new perspective on the world. The ocean holds its secrets and sometimes it's better that way.